As those toxins are accumulating in our endocrine organs, in other words, those glands that produce hormones, they become less efficient, and then they start to decline. And as hormones decline, aging sets in for sure.
Yeah.
So basically, if we look at what we call disease as the accumulation of waste, then the only thing that you must do, no matter what else you do, is get rid of that waste to detoxify. So we detoxify. In what conditions? Every condition. You have to understand that all conditions are deviations from health. Health is our birthright. Health is what we were fitted for by nature. We were designed to be healthy. What is health? Health can be defined as optimal functioning of the organism. Okay, so the organism can only function optimally in and out of the niche out of which it arose, right? So, you couldn't take a tuna fish and put it in the lake, right? You couldn't put a polar bear on the equator. So in other words, so humans must first of all figure out where are we from? Where do humans arise out of? And any serious look into that, you'll come to the conclusion that humans are equatorial and subequatorial organisms, around the equator, just same as all other primates, monkeys, chimps, gorillas. But you don't find them in Germany naturally. You find them in zoos, but you don't find them in the forests. So that's where that would be our natural habitat. And what would we eat in our natural habitat? We would eat all the things that are growing, blossoming, the fruits, and there's abundant vegetation, there's abundant air, oxygen, sun, all those things that we need, and therefore it would require no more than an hour a day to take care of our survival needs. Right? And that's our natural habitat, where all of our needs are met and we would function optimally. But we live in artificial environments, even though we're on the equator. Here, if you look at Bangkok, you look at Singapore, you look at KL, you look at all of these places, they're completely artificial. People live in boxes, they drive around in machines, they interact with and have relationships with their computers. So we have artificial, and our food's artificial, it comes in packages. All these things accumulate, and then our body begins to decline, and that's basically it. So you have to detox. So you see high blood pressure, you see diabetes, you see arthritis, you see depression, and of course cancer, heart disease. All these things are the same thing, really. They're different apples on the tree. Okay? So really, that's it. So that's our approach. Our approach is to cleanse, first of all, but then we have very specific natural medical interventions as well. First of all, I don't know how to say it nicely, it's stupid to think that we would have a gene for cancer, that we would have a gene for diabetes. Why would evolution allow that? Natural selection weeds out those that can't survive. So by now we would not have these genes. And then if you look at it as from the point of view of a creator, why would a creator give us a cancer gene? For entertainment? I mean, there's no, why? It doesn't make sense on any level.
Yeah.
And then of course it's not true. Why do we know that? 100 years ago, 0.5% of the population got cancer. Today in America, 1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women, 1 out of 4 worldwide. It's becoming the leading cause of death worldwide. So it's growing exponentially. So if it were true that it were genetic, then our grandparents should have had it. They all should have had it, and that's not the case. Okay, so basically, if we understand that, and we also now know that cancer is not a genetic. It's not due to mutations on the genome. What happens is, basically, it's very simple. The little organelles inside the cell that make energy, called mitochondria, when enough of them become damaged, the cell, to survive, which is the hardwired into all biological entities, is to survive. It's called homeostasis. So what does it do? It starts to produce energy through fermentation, which is a very primitive way of making energy. So now the cell starts to ferment. And in order to support the fermentation, it changes its genetic expression. It turns on genes and turns off genes. Well, the genes it turns on are what are called oncogenes. Oncogenes are simply to support fermentation. That's what they are. That's what they are. So the genome, or the genetic expression, is what is known now as a downstream epiphenomenon. It's not something that causes it. It's in the back seat driving. There's another driver. The driver is called the epigenome. The epigenome is the environment around the cell to which the cell responds. The DNA is just a library of potential responses, and it'll only respond to what it needs to respond. Too much sugar, it downregulates insulin receptors. So the genes, the genetic expression is always a response to the environment. That's great news because we can change that. Can't change the genes, but we can change the environment. And therefore, we can really determine what genes are going to be expressed. And this is not just a nice theory. It's been well researched and published in peer-reviewed journals. So basically, that's it. So cancer, diabetes, all these things, again, are the same thing. They're the body's response, the adaptive homeostatic response to an unfavorable situation. Always. It is more dangerous to eat a French fry than to smoke a cigarette. Okay, fried foods, instead of producing free radicals, they produce what are called reactive aldehydes, which stay active for several minutes, whereas free radicals are there for a nanosecond. Yeah. Basically, what you can, if you want to just have a broad understanding, is that everything we've ever learned is the opposite of the truth. So if you understand that, then you can proceed. Yeah. There's not even a little bit of truth there.
Yeah. Okay. For me personally, the education is so empowering, which provides you such a great peace of mind that you are in control, and we don't have to outsource our health to specialists who don't seem to have a very efficacious rate of healing.
Well, because they know nothing about health. They're disease managers. So they can't restore you to health because they don't know what it is.
Yeah. And you know this, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but you were actually not an oncologist in...
internal medicine, and I didn't finish an oncology fellowship because I didn't have what it takes to kill people.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it, so I did it on my own, But I've been practicing integrative oncology for over 20 years now. Well, it's again, keeping things simple. We're living artificial lives. So what do? Live a natural life. What does that mean? That means you go to bed when the sun goes down. That means you eat only when you're hungry. And then you have to learn to distinguish between hunger and appetite. They're two different things. They're not even in the same universe. Okay? Appetite is something that comes from the mind. Hunger comes from the body. And hunger, like all bodily functions, is not brought to our attention through pain. It's brought to our attention by it's a longing or a desire. Yeah. It's not a pain. If you're feeling pain, it's because your body is finally getting rid of and rebalancing after eating improperly before. So basically, you need to get back to nature. You need to get back to living an authentic life, and that starts with cleansing the body. But of course, going to sleep early. Exercise has become an actual phenomenon that we need to do. When we lived the natural life, we moved our bodies just to live, just to be alive. So we didn't need to. I was down in Vanuatu hiking with a lot of natives, and these were young kids, 18, 19, what we would call ripped, perfect bodies, and they never went to the gym. They don't even know what a gym is. They're just from living. That's our natural state. That's health, right? They also didn't chatter. They only talked about things that were necessary and appropriate. They didn't have a lot of, I can't imagine them gossiping about what somebody was wearing.
Really comfortable with silence, right? Really comfortable in their own heads.
Right, because they're part of it all. So basically, that's what you do. And you eat human food. So the thing to find out is what is human food. And that's a whole discussion, but basically, in case people don't know, human food is plants and fruits, nuts, and seeds. We probably eat a few insects, probably, maybe some eggs, in a natural setting, we would probably do that. But it violates everything in us to grab an animal and start eating it alive. And neither do we get excited and start salivating when we see a corpse on the road and say, let me take that home. That's just not, it violates it. In other words, to eat that stuff, you have to have been trained from an early age. Like people in certain parts of China, from an early age, eat live monkey brain. And they can't imagine living life without it. Yeah. Okay, so, I can't have monkey brain once a month. Who wants to be alive? So we have to understand, we have to put it in perspective, context, and realize that our appetites, which are in the mind, are cultural. They come from our cultural an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eating a natural human diet is that. I mean, put a little 1-year-old with crawling around, and there's an apple and an orange, and there's a rabbit.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? He's gonna eat the apple and he's gonna play with the rabbit. Okay, that's not what a baby lion would do. You see, so we have to go back to that. We don't understand it. So eating human food, eating it only when hungry, getting proper sleep, moving your body around, having authentic relationships, stop lying. We all lie. We have to stop lying. So
that's important. Yeah, destroying a little piece of your soul every time. Huh?
Right. It's emotional pus.
Yeah.
Now what we have to do here, though, is because people are already far along the way of pathology. They've already got pathology. Yeah. They've got premature aging and stuff. We use plant-based bioidentical hormones. We give intravenous vitamin C, other intravenous curcumin, which comes from turmeric, so to not only fight cancer but also to eliminate and quell inflammation, which is the underlying pathology in all condition. So we do a variety of things intravenously, lifestyle. You have to clean the colon. You've got to get the lymphatics working, and you have to meditate. You have to turn the madwoman off, right? Because we're all crazy. So, well, with cancer, stage 4 cancer, you've got a less than 5% chance of being alive in 5 years if you go the conventional route. You get up close to 60 with what we do. So diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
60% versus 5%. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Why are they not queuing up at the door?
They don't know. People don't know about it.
Yeah.
And out of fear, they the cancer market, the marketing, the PR, started by the American Cancer Society back in the 30s, John D. Rockefeller. It's a big business, $1 trillion industry, right? And so they're not going to do anything to diminish the number of potential clients they have. Right. So most people out of fear run to the hospital, get things taken off, get radiated. Finally, when the oncologist says there's nothing else we can do, then they go looking for alternatives. What we want to do, the reason I moved to Southeast Asia is because we have a very successful center in the U.S., but I want to bring that here, and I want people to know before they don't have to do the other. In fact, I was talking to an Indian man the other day, and he reminded me that in his culture, what we call conventional medicine is to him the alternative. He grew up with Ayurvedic. He grew up in Chinese traditional Chinese. So that's a perspective. But diabetes, you have type 2 diabetes, 100%. 100% will no longer have diabetes if they do exactly what we say within 2 weeks. So, check that out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that's brilliant anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure to meet you.